welcome Rhiannon Archer!
Yeah, my mom had surprised me with crocheting a devil costume for my 1-year-old son, which made him the most cuddliest monster ever. Which is funny because my mom and my family, we grew up Catholic. And do we have any Catholic people here or people? She's real Catholic. It's funny because I grew up Catholic, and when you ask me about God and like demons and angels, I'm like, yeah, that's all bullshit. That is not real in my books. But if you ask me about ghosts, those are real. Which I know you're like, wait, how can you believe one thing and the other? Well, ghosts are magic, so shut up. Ever since I was a small child, I always had this idea in my head that if you're in the light, nothing can touch you. If you're in the light, like right now, I'm safe. You guys, not so much. In the dark, that's when things will get you, 100%. Like nobody's like, well, if you watch the news, a lot of attacks happen in daylight. But in my mind, in the safety of this noodle, nothing will attack you. No ghosts will appear to you in the light. They appear to you in the dark when they're all translucent and scary as shit with that green hue, right? Like we're talking like Darby O'Gale and the Little People, that banshee. If Mr. Boogedy, I can't think of anything else because I don't watch scary movies because I don't need any more fucking ghosts in my head. Now, when I was younger and was in the dark, I never felt alone, and not in the positive way. I always felt things around me, and one thing in particular that really bothered me is I'd be downstairs and it'd be darkish, and I would be like grabbing something from the laundry room, and then all of a sudden I would feel, and I would scream and run upstairs, and that went throughout my entire life. And I'd never really told people about that because people would be like, well, it's just your imagination. And I'm like, yeah, okay, or it's ghosts touching my hair because it is silky and beautiful. And, right? Like, we die, but we're not, dead when we're ghosts. Now, we're going to fast forward. So my first job, like that was a real job, was the year before I finished college, and I worked for a telemarketing company that had 3 people. They were Deb, Debbie, and Carol. Now Deb was this 50-year-old woman. She was kind of a large woman, and she loved telling you how she scammed X, throughout the day. Like she would come in, she'd be like, hey guys, got 2 bagels from Tim Hortons today. 2 bagels. Ask me how. Ask me how. Ask me how I did it. Yeah, I got my bagel, put it in my purse, and then just stood there. And then when they asked, I said, I didn't get my bagel. You guys can get 2 bagels. 2 bagels. Then there was Debbie, who was a beautiful, wonderful single mom, but every single day at around lunchtime, she would slam the phone down and just turn to us and say, you will not believe what my fucking ex-husband is doing now. Like clockwork. Every single time. But it was very lovely. And then there was Carol, the boss. Guys, I hated this job, but oh man, I loved how ridiculous this office was. Carol was this woman who came from Montreal, and she was this up-and-coming entrepreneur. She was English, but every time she would tell people that she was an entrepreneur. And I'm like, that's not, no, don't, no. You can't do that just because you're from Montreal. No. Now, she was weird. She lived she lived on her own in this giant, beautiful mansion in Oakville, Ontario, in which we worked in the basement. Debbie, and me. Now, she had and she didn't live alone. She had adopted a small girl and had her mother staying. And Carol would love to come down at 11 o'clock in the morning, bring me a martini, and tell me about her latest date. Now, the whole time, I would still have to be calling people to try to get them to do whatever. And she would hand me the martini and be like, "You will not believe what happened last night. This guy comes over, schmuck. Kimmy runs up to him. He opens the door. Sorry, I open the door. Kimmy runs up to him, and she says, it's so cute, 'Are you going to be my new dad?' Didn't work out. Carol was crazy. She would brag to me about how she had inns at medieval times. She'd be like, 'You need to go to medieval times? I know the king. You can be princess, and I'll get it so that you win.' And like, she was so bizarre, but one of Carol's favorite things in the entire world, was psychics. Now, Carol, we would be working down there, and I would be on the phone calling up people, and then she would have like palm readers and tarot card readers come down, tell us our future, and then go up, and every time she'd be like, 'That woman was full of shit.' I asked her when I was going to die, and she said 82. Pfft, I'm psychic. I'm dying at 86. Like, that was her rationale. She's like, horse shit, 86. Don't know why these people are doing that. And I'm like, Carol, do you have a plan? Like, what's happening? Now, in this giant house, sometimes Deb and Debbie would go upstairs, and I would be left alone in the basement. It's a beautifully decorated home office, but no windows. And sometimes it'd be very dimly lit. Now, it was a long room, and then about 30 feet down the hallway was the bathroom. And I would have to pass the laundry room. And why is it that all laundry rooms look like they've had a murder happen in them? Like, if you're lucky enough to have a basement in Toronto, live in a basement, probably somebody's been murdered in there. I don't know why. But every time, never failed, if I was down there by myself, I would walk past there, and the second I moved there, my hair would flip. I would get chills over my body, and I knew I'm not alone, so I would run to the bathroom, and then run back, because at my desk, I had a big light. Now, Debbie was telling Carol one time that she went to a psychic once who was actually called an angel lady. And in my head, I'm like, religious, fuck off. Like, it's not okay. Who's coming in next is what I'm thinking. And Carol's very intrigued. So Carol takes it upon herself to book the angel lady on a Friday night and says, we're staying, I'm making martinis, and we're having this angel lady. See what she's about. And I'm like, I got nothing else to do. Sure, let's do this. The angel lady comes. Her name's Janet. She starts explaining what she does. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, okay. And she asks, who wants to go first? We'll do the readings in the basement where we have some privacy. And I go like, well, I want to get away from these women, so I will go first. So she takes me, and I start taking her downstairs. And as we're going down the stairs, she grabs my arm. She turns around, and she says, who do you feel down here? And my immediate response was, you? She's like, no. Who do you feel down here? And I played dumb because I'm not going to give this woman anything because I'm like, this is nonsense. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, oh, okay, because right now they're saying that every time you go to the bathroom, they flick your hair and they think it's really funny when you run like an idiot. And I say, like, we go into like where the office, why'd you do this? We go into where the office is. And she sits down, she's like, okay, I'm gonna touch you now. And I'm like, again? She's like, yep. And she puts her hand over my heart, and she just goes, and in my head, I'm freaked out about the whole, like, who do you feel down here? They laugh when they flick your hair. But I just kind of say, like, okay. And she goes, so you're in television, right? That's what you're taking. I have told this woman nothing. And I say, okay. And she's like, okay, well, I'm sorry, but you're not going to work behind the camera. You're actually going to be more performing in front of the camera. And at this point, I was not performing as a person. I wanted to, but I was very scared to do that. And she said, I also see you surrounded by a lot of children in the near future. And which I was like, ew, no. I don't like, this woman's way off. But then she said, and I also want to tell you about your spirit guides. And she says, you constantly have the angel Gabriel around you, which I'm like, oh, like the one who like, yeah, I wasn't listening in that Sunday. I was like, see, babe? And she's like, and then she also told me that I constantly have this woman, Veronica, around me, and she's kind of like this pinup woman. And I said, oh, that's funny. And she goes, yeah, because you know those times when you think you see somebody out the corner of your eye, and then you turn around and it's just a mirror, but you know it wasn't you that you saw? And this woman is saying these things that I'm like, yeah, this happens all the time. She's like, yeah, well, she's just trying to get you to look in the mirror to show you that you're a pretty girl, because sometimes I know you don't feel that way. And I'm like, what the fuck, lady? I'm like, and then she's like, you also have this guy named Harold who's a vaudeville kind of ghost. And I'm like, go on. She's I'm like, tell me more. And she's like, you know how you always like laugh for no reason because you'll spot something and you'll think of something and you just start laughing out loud, and everybody always tells you, like, what are you laughing at? And you can't really feel like you can explain it to them. And I'm like, this woman is hitting on every single thing about me. I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, he's just goofing with you. He's showing you stuff. He's the one who's flicking your hair ever since you were little, so stop being afraid of the dark. It's just him. And I thanked the lady, and I went upstairs, and they were like, how was it? And I'm like, yeah. I got my stuff, and I went home for the weekend, and I tried sitting in the dark, and nothing happened. Now that I knew from this woman who was in the dark, I wasn't that scared, and to this day, I have not been scared of the dark, and I will gladly sit in the dark, and I'm not afraid. I don't know how to explain that. I'm going to go with magic. But the Monday I went in, and Carol came down at the crack of noon. And she goes, so what'd you think of the angel lady? And I said to her that, like, you know, I really liked what she did. She took some of the scariest things of my entire life and made them okay. And, you know, I just kind of believed her, and I really appreciate that. So thank you, Carol, for bringing her in. And Carol says, she's fucking bullshit. She thinks I'm dying at 72. I'm dying at 86. Thank you.